At this time, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Amy Zen. Amy is a 2014 graduate of Port Huron Northern. While at Northern, Amy was involved in student council, band, drama, on the varsity tennis and volleyball teams, and enjoyed learning art, Spanish, and calculus. She went on to the University of Michigan to study computer science and engineering, and soon after moved to Seattle to start her career as a software engineer at Nordstrom. After COVID hit, she decided to pivot into a more creative industry and began working as a technical director at the Walt Disney Animation Studios in Los Angeles. While there, Amy has worked on films like Strange World, Wish, Moana 2, and is currently working on Zootopia 2. Welcome, Amy.
Wow, thank you for that introduction, Principal Shagney. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. First off, congratulations, class of 2025. What an enormous accomplishment it is to be sitting where you are today. You must be very proud. I'm so very honored to have been asked to speak at tonight's commencement, and I hope that I can give you some of my learnings from my time out of high school and get you excited about your next phase of life. In 2014, just over 10 years ago, I was right where you all are today, about to graduate from Port Huron Northern High School. When I think about that night, I remember seeing my family up in the stands, I remember sweating under my yellow gown, and I remember being stressed about performing the class song in front of so many people, not knowing if our acoustic rendition of Avicii's Wake Me Up would come across in this very echoey arena. But I will be honest with all of you. Something I do not remember about that night is who our commencement speaker was. And if for some reason the 2014 commencement speaker is out in the audience tonight, I am so sorry. But know that this gave me a wave of relief as I was preparing for this speech, for if this speech flops, very few people will remember it 10 years from now. As it was mentioned, I'm currently a technical director at the Walt Disney Animation Studios in Los Angeles. It's a job that's not the easiest to describe to people, but as a technical director, I help bridge the gap between art and technology during the movie-making process. I collaborate very closely with artists to build show-specific tools that help to accomplish creative visions for the film. My job involves a lot of programming, problem-solving, collaboration, and a well-rounded knowledge of the entire animation process. Animation is such a beautiful art form, and I feel very lucky to be surrounded by it day to day. I'm sure many of you have fond memories of watching animated films as children, or even still today. Animation can bring the most imaginative of worlds to life with whimsical characters and unforgettable stories. But what I'm most fascinated by is its relatability for all ages, its resilience in times of change, and its innovation to push the boundaries of art and technology. I've learned many life lessons from watching animated films throughout the years, but tonight I hope to share the lessons I've learned while helping to create those films. I have 5 lessons for you all that I've learned from working at an animation studio that hopefully you'll find helpful as you begin navigating life after high school, whatever that may look like for you. So this first lesson is about the pathway to success. People will occasionally ask me if I always knew I wanted to work in animation, and the answer to that is not quite. In fact, back in 4th grade, my dream job was to become an obstetrician gynecologist. You could say that my career trajectory has slightly shifted since then. I did, however, love Disney and Pixar movies and would occasionally fantasize about what it would be like helping to create them. Working in animation seemed so out of reach, though. It seemed like the only way in was to have insane artistic abilities, to have directed an indie stop-motion short film, and to have 10 years of professional experience all before you're 21. And of course, that isn't true. Once I actually started working in animation, I came to realize that Disney attracts talent from all over the world, from all different backgrounds. I have coworkers that went to art school, others that went to Ivy League engineering universities, and some that never went to college at all. There are people who previously worked in big tech, in aerospace, for the government, in education. it still amazes me to see all of the different paths that led each of us to working at an animation studio. There is no one path. The lesson here is opportunity and success don't come based on finding the right path, but rather are based on what you do on the path you're on. Lesson number 2. We all know how drastically our world is changing. These changes have impacted animation, for one, but also education, the job market, technology, what it takes to get into college, how we socialize. It's all much different than when our parents graduated high school. And frankly, it's much different than when I graduated from Northern. Now more than ever, it's important to focus on learning transferable skills, or skills that are valuable between different majors, jobs, and industries. One example that I've found helpful is problem solving. I had no animation experience prior to Disney. My experience was working in retail technology. I didn't go to art school or major in computer graphics, and I'd never even heard of a technical director. After I got the job, I later asked the recruiter why I was chosen. And she said she was looking for technical fundamentals, but also for great problem solvers, and I had proven that I was one. Now, problem solving is something that I do every single day. Technical directors solve problems like, why are Moana's eyes missing? Or why does this code that we programmed cause cars to float 6 inches off the ground? And we don't always have the answer, but technical directors will always find a way to figure it out. So now I'm talking as if being a professional problem solver is somehow unique to me, but it's really not. Think about teachers, nurses, accountants, business owners. All are great problem solvers, hence a transferable skill. A second example of a transferable skill, and one that I consider even more important, is learning how to interact and work with people well, aka be a fantastic people person. An animated film is like one giant art project that hundreds of people are working on at the same time. Not only does everyone need to be able to communicate well, but there needs to be trust, reliability, openness, as well as playfulness and humor to create great work. I've come to learn that people tend to be the distinguishing factor in almost any experience you'll encounter. In classes, in your dorm, at your workplace, in your community, people can make or break those experiences. Now, don't get me wrong, people can be tough to work with and frustrating and uncomfortable, but building these skills is so important and so overlooked. So what do I mean by being a great people person? To me, that means having patience, listening, empathizing, asking questions, being inclusive, and having respect and kindness for others, especially if they look, think, or act differently than yourself. I guarantee you will find greater success in the goals you pursue if you can do these simple things to connect with other humans. Focusing on skills like problem solving and being a great people person allow you to be flexible and valuable in the spaces or circumstances you find yourself in, especially when the next 5 years may look very different than the last. Lesson number 3 is one I've learned while working very closely with animators. During production, animators are usually assigned shots or small sections of a scene to animate. And I kid you not, some of these shots are just seconds long. But the amount of effort and care that these artists put into these few seconds is unbelievable. Oftentimes in their critique sessions, details as small as a wrong tilt of a head or incorrect movements of eyelashes are noticed and sent back to be redone. One time I asked an animator if they found the process of critiquing these small details tedious or frustrating. And they responded, "What would animation be if not for these small details?" And they were right. It's important to have high standards for the quality of work you put out into the world. The work you do in a classroom, in the workplace, or even at home is a reflection on your work ethic and integrity to a craft. Don't let negligence, apathy, or laziness get in the way. The small details in life matter. Lesson number 4. When the final film is made, but prior to it being released into theaters, the studio celebrates with what we call a wrap party. This is when everyone dresses up and heads to a fancy Hollywood theater, and we all watch the final cut of the film together. My first wrap party was for the movie Encanto. The memory that has stuck with me the most from that night is the roaring applause from the moment the credits started rolling until the screen went black. No one stood up to leave until every single name rolled off the screen. Disney Animation is unique in that every person who works in the studio is credited in every film, no matter what your position in the studio is. So of course, credits roll for directors and voice actors and artists, but Disney also credits engineers, tech support, baristas, custodial staff, everyone, because it truly takes everyone to create each movie. It's so important to thank and recognize the people who support you along your journey. Remember that success is seldom done alone. It took a village to get you where you are today. Parents, grandparents, siblings, friends, teachers, coaches, mentors, the list goes on. So let's give credit where credit is due with a round of applause for all of the supporters that came out for you tonight. You have all put in a lot of work to make it to this point, especially in the last 4 years of high school. And it's crazy to think about, but each animated movie also takes around 4 years from start to finish. And I'm gonna let you in on a little movie-making secret, and something that kind of blew my mind when I first started working at Disney, is in animation, the script and story of a film are typically finalized only just months before the movie release. During the production process, each film is screened internally, where the studio gets to see the different in-progress states of the film. And after each screening, everyone is asked to provide feedback on the story. And people don't usually hold back. The story doesn't always hit the mark. Sometimes the characters aren't likable enough, or the plot doesn't make sense. And in those cases, the filmmakers go back to the drawing board and work to tear it all down and build it back up again. All of this to say, it takes time to write the story. This is my last lesson for you all today. Your story will take time, and you may not always get it right. There will be failed tests, there will be rejection letters, there will be hard relationships and missed opportunities. But don't forget that all of that is a part of your story just as much as the accomplishments, successes, and celebrations are. In fact, those moments of failure will teach you much more than the success ever will. So, to recap, 1, remember there is no one right path. 2, focus on learning transferable skills. 3, the small details in life matter. 4, always give credit where credit is due. And 5, it takes time to write a great story. Graduating from high school tonight may feel like an ending, but it's really just the start. You have time to fail and learn new skills. You have time to find what you're passionate about and to meet people that you connect with. Hey, I'm 28, 10 years older than most of you, and I'm still writing my story, still finding my way. Everyone here is. And I hope knowing that gives you the confidence to continue writing your great story for yourself. Class of 2025, I'm so excited to see the places you will go, the people you will become, and the good you will create in this world. Congratulations to each and every one of you. Go Huskies!
Thank you, Amy.